Hello, welcome to a very special All Today. In 1969, man walked on the moon. 1971, man walked on the moon again. Then for a long time, nothing happened. Until 2021, when Skyrim Anniversary Edition launched on next-gen consoles. How excited are you boys?
Well, I'll just start clapping right now.
Yeah. Todd did it. One more time.
Again.
He found another way to release Skyrim. They said it couldn't be done. They said, no, an HD re-release has already happened. What else could you do?
Well, it turns out, one more time.
Staple a bunch of mods onto it.
You figure when you make the Alexa joke, like, oh, we release it on everything, here's the joke version we put on Alexa. It's like, well, we're not doing it anymore. But he proved us wrong. Gentlemen, he defied expectations like one Ryan Johnson. Can you believe it?
What'll the Toddster think of next?
You know, that isn't going to be the only Last Jedi reference in this podcast. You've been warned.
Anyway, welcome back to the show. How have you guys been this week?
Pretty good. How about yourself?
Not too bad. Not too bad. That's very standard, kind of just like working and then I'm off. So kind of in a treadmill right now. What about you, Cheston?
Baby head is in the middle of his first ever illness. So it's been varying degrees of alright here and there, with a few stretches of bad.
Is he doing okay?
Oh, I mean, yeah, he's just, he's not like ill. He's just got a little bit of a viral infection, not of the corona variety, thankfully. So he's just kind of displeased sometimes.
Yeah, you never forget the first time your kid's sick, I hear. So.
Yeah, it hasn't been fun because it was very sudden, and I had to leave work in the middle of the day, and I had to stay up till midnight getting things ready because missing a day as a teacher is a giant pain in the neck. And then on Saturday, which I thought was going to be a super relaxing day because I had spent most of Friday cleaning while he was being sick, and then we ended up spending at least 5 hours driving all around the area because we had to go to this one place, and then we got back, he wasn't feeling good, and then we had to go to the hospital, and the hospital that he's at is like an hour away from our house, and so it was just like our entire day was in a car driving around the little metro area in which we live, which is not fun.
That sounds terrible.
Yeah, the infamous interstate that divides this place in two is not fun on Saturdays. Or ever.
It's never fun. Yeah, it's the worst state in the world. I mean, it is the worst state in the world, but the worst street in the world.
I mean, I don't know.
That's not true.
Florida's pretty bad.
I got problem with Illinois. Yeah.
We like to keep things vague, so you can cross Florida and Illinois off your chart of where the hell these people are talking about.
Yeah.
It isn't those. Also not Alabama.
Could be.
Or
Mississippi. Or Arkansas.
Give it time. Maybe one day.
Yeah, we're gonna move to the south and have a new season.
Yeah.
Where we all have thick southern drawls.
That'd be pretty nice,
moonshine.
Right? Yeah.
Reboot the podcast.
Yeah. It would be called the 3X podcast, and people
will be called Cuck Dynasty.
Oh, now. We're the South. No, we're not the East Coast here.
Oh. Okay. True.
Well, anyway, let's start with Cheston, since you've had a hectic week. How have you escaped from it?
Working, which I don't recommend. If you cannot work, I highly recommend that. So
that's the plan one day.
I kid. It's actually been a really good year so far. But anyways, I got a lot of quick hits. So I'm gonna run through some things, and I'm gonna try and be quick. I even took notes. I never do that.
Wow.
Yeah. All right. So let's start with Quake. They released Quake on everything in honor of. Is there an occasion? Is there a reason they have re-released it? Just funsies?
Quake rules is the occasion.
Well, I mean, yes, okay, I get that. Yeah, I mean, I played a little bit the other day after I had. I was watching AEW and CM Punk debuted, and I decided to celebrate by cracking a cold one and playing 1996.
Why would you celebrate with the one straight edge guy? You're cracking a cold brew.
That's fair. You make a good point. But either way, I was like, I'm going to crack a cold one and play this Quake port, and it's fun. I mean, it's one of those, right? It's a classic shooter. It was it's long been a spot, like a blind spot in my personal history, because I don't really play those kind of games. I do think, I don't know that I'm going to play too much of it. I think that I personally, because I don't have nostalgia for these games, would probably be better served by one of the more modern Steam versions of these types of games, like the ones that Setzer's always talking about. But I mean, I can see why this was so successful. And I know that a lot of its appeal at the time, or a lot of its novelty at the time, was that it was a very early 3D game on PC, and that was kind of crazy. And I think in the new version, that all looks fine. Like it's all been up-res to 4K. It was fun. Looks all right. Wouldn't recommend playing it on a controller personally. I think the Xbox port. I know there's like a Switch port and a PS5 port. I'm gonna say no. I'm gonna say that if I play these again, I'm probably just gonna download it on my PC because it's also on Game Pass there.
I knew this because I think the Duke 3D Anniversary Edition was on sale on Switch for like 20 cents, and I bought it. And I, with the controller, like, this game is not fun with a controller.
Well, you need really fast reflexes, and the controller, the right analog stick only turns you so fast.
Yeah.
So at some point, I got to a stage where these creatures like leaping all around you and leaping at you, and because my aiming was so slow, it was really hard to keep up, and that was where I stopped. And like I said, I might go back, but I think since I had fun with it, if I wanted to continue, I might try something like a medieval or whatever is the boomer shooter du jour of the day.
That's my favorite.
Yeah, I know you like it, and I've seen a lot of people talk about it. So maybe in the future that'll go on sale, and I might give that a little try.
It's on sale a fair amount, I feel.
I figured. Setzer, do you have any Quake, is that a thing that you're nostalgic for?
I played a little bit of it when I was a kid, but
Yeah.
Quake came out when I was 3 years old,
Mm.
so I don't have that kind of launch nostalgia or community nostalgia for it.
Mm-hmm.
But I did play it a little bit when I was a lad.
Yeah, it plays nice. It plays nicely.
I think I played it like 2 or so years ago, just messing around, and it's a lot of fun. It's like this very fast-paced. It's just felt nostalgic to me. So.
I liked that. I like that the levels are so short, because I'm so used to now, whenever I play a shooter, which is not my genre of choice, the levels always seem so long to me, and they always seem like they overstay their welcome. So this is nice, because it's just
we'll be talking
really
about
quick
that.
bursts.
Oh yeah, I know. It's to me it's.
Oh yeah.
I mean, I guess it's obvious since it's id, but it's just a better looking Doom to me. 3D graphics.
Well, and it has a third dimension.
Yeah, that's what I mean. Better looking.
You can aim up.
Which makes it a little complicated for playing on the controller.
True.
The original
Yes.
Doom is a little easier on the controller.
The absolute
This is-
state of the console plead.
This
Console
is one
idiots.
of
Looking
3
up
games.
and down makes it so hard.
Well,
This is one of 3 games that I'm going to talk about that should be played on a computer.
All right.
Ugh,
Who knew you were a
so
computer boy?
I know when something. Now that I have a PC, I know when I clearly should be playing something on it.
Any shooter,
Much better.
pretty much.
Most of the time, yeah.
All the time.
So, next one is Warioware, which is definitely a quick hit because 1, it's Warioware, and 2, it's a
Microgames.
demo.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a demo, so there's not much I can say about it. It's a really short demo. I would say that this is promising. I have declared myself a fan of Warioware, but in all honesty, and maybe you agree, Derek, I think the series has always been good, but diminishing returns every single time.
Well, yeah, because I think the best version is the very first one released on
Yeah.
Game Boy Advance. So,
Well, the very
yeah.
first one is very simple, and then every game after it, the whole thing was just okay, now it's on the DS, so it's touchscreen and microphone games, and okay, now it's on the Wii, so now it's motion-controlled games.
Yeah, it's basically how Nintendo flexes their gimmick muscle.
Right, and I mean, I like those games, but I always felt Touched and Twisted and Smooth Moves, they were fun once, but whenever I go back and play one, I always pick the GBA one.
Yes.
I just think it's the best one. And so this one, because of the nature of the Switch and the fact that they have to make it work on Switch Lite, this game really doesn't do that. It's not about the console's gimmick. Like, you don't have mini games that are all about putting your Switch in a dock.
It's back to
Believe it or not.
basics. I'm
Yeah,
stunned, by the way. I thought that was like a guarantee.
I
Didn't they
know.
already? Didn't they do that? With the didn't they have a game at launch that was
1-2
like
switch.
1-2
That was-
switch.
Yeah.
Yeah, but WarioWare is usually like their fun gimmick series.
For people that aren't familiar with WarioWare, if like Mario Party mini games probably last like what 2 minutes or so, maybe a minute. WarioWare mini games last 5 to 10 seconds.
Yeah, they're short.
Yeah.
So the gimmick this time is that instead of, the original one, you just like press the A button in different ways, or you moved in different ways. And this is very similar to that, except for this time you are directly controlling a character, one of the mini WarioWare characters. And each character has very unique abilities. So like Wario is your standard character. He has a jetpack so you can fly all around the screen, and he has his shoulder bash that he uses in Wario Land. And you have characters like Mona, who has a scooter which is always moving, like she cannot stop, and she has a boomerang which you can guide around the screen to take care of things. And then you have some weird ones like Orbulon, who's a little alien guy, and he has a UFO that flies around, and then he has a tractor beam, so if he's above something he can like levitate it in place. And so what this means is that all of the micro games, of which there are, I guess, 200, the demo has not that many, but all of them have a lot of different approaches you can take depending on the character. Like the example I thought of earlier was there's this windmill stage, and the thing is that it's a standard WarioWare game. You're trying to make the windmill blow, and then at the end, like giants show up, a la Don Quixote, and it's all wacky. And so if you're Wario, you're the basic character. You're like, okay, I've got a jetpack. I'm gonna like move around the blades and make them go. But then if you're using a character like, I think his name is 18 Volt, 9 Volt's brother, he doesn't move. He just sits in place and shoots things. So if you're him, you have to shoot the windmill at a certain angle to make it rotate. And then if you're another character, I can't remember his name. He's like a karate guy. I think he's from one of the later games. His special ability is that he cannot fly or anything. He just like moves around like a platforming character and jumps. And so when you're him, you have to go to the other side of the windmill and kind of jump on it like a seesaw to get it to move. And so what this means is that every minigame theoretically has several different solutions depending on who you're using. So you have the added, let's say, the original game is like always like kind of intense because it's very quick. You don't have a lot of time to think. Well, now not only do you not have that much time to think, now you also have to add on to that, like, okay, oh crap, I'm using this character for this stage, what's his best approach? And on top of that, you're not just like picking a character and going, you're picking a team of 3 characters. And so you might say, okay, I'm going to use Wario, Mona, and the ninjas. And then the game will randomly cycle through them throughout the course of the stage. So you almost never know what you're going to be seeing in terms of the minigames, and you don't really know which character you're going to have to approach it with. So it's really engaging, and I thought it was a lot of fun to just kind of play with the different characters and see the different ways that they can interact.
I was kind of worried because I felt like the appeal of WarioWare is like every stage it's unique controls or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
So having the same character through a bunch of stages felt kind of strange to me, but it seems like it worked out better than I expected.
No, it definitely keeps you on your toes, and I think I'll be interested when the full game comes out. I didn't want to try it with my wife on the demo because there's just not that many micro games, and I think she would lose interest in that, but the full game has like 200, so I'm curious to see the co-op side of that, because then you'll have 2 people, each with a character, going through these micro games, and I could just see that being really chaotic and really fun. And it seems like, based on the demo, there is a lot of content outside of just like the regular campaign, which is good, because the game is always super short. There's it sounds like there's online tournaments of some kind, so it looks really promising. I was a little worried about this one myself, like you. I think this demo did a good job of selling me on this game.
Well, I'll have to try it out. I'm curious myself, so
Yeah. It's a quick little small demo, and it's quick, so I recommend it.
All right.
Okay, now on to something I don't recommend. The Ascent. We talked about this last week in the uncut version of this episode. You know, the Snyder cut
Yeah,
of
the
last week.
unrecorded one.
Right. And I think I hate this game. So I'll
Why?
start there. I was playing this with a friend. He requested he saw it, and a lot of people were talking it up online, so he wanted to play it, and so he conned me into it. And I'm usually willing to go down with that kind of thing. Like, oh, I'll play whatever, as long as if someone wants me to, I'll play it. Um, and so I played this, and I'll start with some good stuff. It does look nice on the TV, and the shooting, which it is a twin stick shooter of action RPG of the action RPG variety. The shooting is fun, so you've got those two things going for it. But here are my problems. First, Setzer, I know you like tabletop stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Have you ever played a tabletop game that you could tell really, really, really needed to be edited?
Mm-hmm. It's
Okay.
called Dungeons and Dragons.
Well, yes, that one too, yes. So there's this board game I played a year ago called Feudum, and it was clear that the person who designed it never had anybody on his team that ever told him no. It just had every type of mechanic. It had 4X, it had, lots of trading back and forth, it had these monsters you could summon, it had, think of all the popular board game conceits of the day, it had all of them. And they never cohered in a way like a board game's supposed to. And so the Ascent has that problem, because if it were just an action RPG like Diablo that had twin stick shooting controls, if it was just that, it would be fine. But they also wanted to make this super immersive world, and as a co-op thing, it just makes it very difficult to navigate. It's way too busy, stacked on top of the fact that it's cyberpunk, so visually it's super busy too. So very difficult to navigate. And then on top of that, they want it to be like this epic narrative, kind of like the cyberpunk games. So you find the game constantly interrupting you for these really just awful dialogue scenes. I mean, I cannot emphasize how cringe-inducing this dialogue is. Like, it's try-hard cyberpunk. If it tells you anything, there's an area in the game called the Deep Stink. And, yeah. So, and there's a mission where you, collect testicles. I mean, come on. Seriously. It's just too much, and I just feel like someone on the team should have said no. And on top of all that, it's super detailed with everything. So, you have augments, which allow your character to do some cool stuff. And, of course, you have your weapons, which can all be modified to do all kinds of different things. And then every time you level up, like a lot of action RPGs, you can modify your stats. And every time you modify your stats, not only are you increasing those stats, you're also increasing these other things on the side. And they don't ever explain any of this, really. So you're just constantly, at some point I just started pressing buttons. Well, I don't know what I'm going to do, so I'm just going to give my character lots of critical hit and lots of speed, because that's what I like. But there's all these other numbers increasing at the same time that I can't parse. And on top of that, the font is so ludicrously freaking small. It is absurd how small this text is. I have a 55-inch TV, and I sit relatively close to it, and I cannot see it.
Does it remind you of the complaints when Dead Rising came out and they were talking about how the text was illegible?
Well, it's a little different because, of course, Dead Rising's problem was that it was an HD era game, but a lot of people still had SD sets.
Yes.
And so if you had a standard definition set like we did, you were just kind of SOL. This is a little bit more, not just that the font is small, it's that the cyberpunk aesthetic is busy, and all the menus are very bright red. It's like staring into a Virtual Boy when you use the menu, and with really small font, and it just makes me so angry. Every time I level up, I just get so mad because I have to navigate this stupid freaking menu, and I can't ever read any of it, and then things don't increase, in a way that makes my character more interesting or fun to play as. And then, as perhaps the icing on the top of the cake, this game is broken. It is absolutely, objectively broken by every possible metric. I have played this game twice, and both times we had to stop because of a game-breaking bug. Both times. The first time, the game glitched so hard it turned into a first-person shooter. I'm not making it up. I actually was in first-person mode, and the game crashed. That actually happened. It changed genres, it broke so hard. And then, the last time I played, the game suddenly glitched where when I would go into the map screen and then exit out of the map screen, all of the little bips or blips on my map screen were now on top of my actual game screen. And it wasn't like I could use them to navigate. It was like they just like didn't go away. It was like burn in on an OLED screen or something. And then I couldn't shoot. The main mechanic of the game, my character could not shoot. I could turn around, I could aim, I could do everything my character could do except for shoot. Going into a cutscene did not fix it. Dying and coming back to life did not fix it. I literally could not do anything. It was absolutely unacceptable. And the fact that I have seen so many people online praising this game boggles my mind. They must be playing a better version. I do think it would be better on a PC because you're at least close to the screen. But good God, I hate this game so much, and I am so glad my friend said he decided we're going to play something else at this point because I just hate this game.
That's very damning.
Yeah, I hate to be so alarmist about it, but honestly, if I play twice and it breaks both times, I'm done.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think I've heard you be so negative about something before.
I'm usually not. Same thing. Yeah, I'm usually not. I usually like can see what they're going for, but like this game ticks so many boxes of things I just hate, which is a shame because there's a lot there. It seems like there could be something there to love if it was, I don't know, maybe got a little more time in the oven. Because it just doesn't seem like it was fully baked. It was made by 12 people, so, you know, I hate to really ham on them too much, but, I mean, if it's only made by 12 people as an indie studio, damn, like, you should have given yourself a little more time.
It's just so interesting, because I've heard, like, praise for this game.
I
a lot
know,
of places.
I've heard lots of people who say, like, oh, this is really fun.
Near Universal, actually.
I know. I think they're insane. I will say, I don't like action RPGs, really. So I know that's at least part of it, but at the same time, I played Diablo 3 and had a fun time back in the day.
And Diablo 3 sucks.
And I don't like Diablo 3 anymore, so I could at least have fun with that. This, I just can't. Like, when we were going to play it that day, part of me was like, oh god, I really don't. Like, I don't want to be a bad friend and just, like, bow out at the last minute, but god, I just want to, like, suggest any other game. So look forward to next week when we play Borderlands 3 and I can talk about that.
Doggy.
I played a little bit of it. I thought that game sucked ass, but we'll see what you think.
Yeah, we'll see. I mean, I've enjoyed playing, not listening to, Borderlands in the past. So I'm willing to give it a shot. It was also only $8, so
that's why I bought it. It
was
$10 when I bought it. So
yeah, you know, I'm not expecting it to be great, but it was more of a thing where my friend was like, I mean, I guess we could try something like Borderlands, and I said, listen, if that's on sale, I'll play it. And the next day he said, hey, it's on sale. And I said, alright, well, you called my bluff. Let's go. So anyways, now I'm going to talk about a game I actually like. So, Ascent bad. Now, this game is the second, maybe the third, most divisive thing starring Daisy Ridley.
Uh-oh.
I told you a Last Jedi reference was in tow. This game is called 12 Minutes, and it inexplicably stars James McAvoy, Daisy Ridley, and Willem Dafoe. I say inexplicably because I really don't know why. They don't add anything to the game.
It's like a
they
David
don't do an
Cage
awesome
joint.
job. No, it is not. It is an indie game. It's made by like a first-time Portuguese developer, I think. It's been in development.
How'd they afford these people?
Well, I think Microsoft came in and backed up a money truck.
I see.
This game's been in development for a long time. Like, this was shown at E3 forever ago. Almost like Cuphead was, where it, like, showed up and it seemed neat, and then it disappeared a bunch, and then finally this year it showed up. So the concept of the game is that you are a guy. Alright, so you're this guy, and you have a wife. And so you're doing guy and wife things. You come home, and you set the table, you have dinner,
Yeah.
you dance. It's a special night. It's, she's telling you that she's pregnant. So you're just like when I found out my wife was pregnant. We danced by the candlelight. We had some odd-looking dessert. She got tired and went to bed. It was basically all those things.
You drank
So
yourself
then-
into a stupor?
Yeah, after the dinner's done, a guy knocks on your door, voiced by Willem Dafoe, which would be terrifying. Thankfully, this did not happen in my real life. And he comes in and he says all these things like, "Hey, I'm a cop. This is the police. You're under arrest. You're under suspicion for murdering your father." He handcuffs you with his little zip tie handcuffs. So obviously he's not like a straight up cop, and that's pretty obvious. It's not like a surprise. And how this goes about is going to depend on each player. But for me, at this point, I clicked a button and my character stood up, and the guy was like, "Okay, I told you, I'm not messing around," and he clocks you. And then you wake up back in your hotel room or your apartment at the beginning of the evening again. And so that's the way the game works. It's a 12-minute loop. Whether or not it's 12 minutes in real life, I'm not sure. I think it might be. If not, it's close. It's this, you just play this loop over and over and over. And the game gives you pretty much no guidance outside of the beginning tutorial. And I like it because it's this mystery that you are slowly unraveling with a lot of very intuitive logic. For example, the first thing I did in my second loop when I realized what the game was I talked to the wife and said, "Hey, this guy's gonna come in a few minutes, and you need to not let him in." And she was like, "Well, this is weird. Do you have any proof? I think you're kind of weirding me out." Yeah, and then you have to go around the apartment and you try and find proof. So I found the present she got me, and I was like, "Hey, listen, I know what this is. This is a suit for our baby that you're gonna tell me about tonight." And she'll start to believe you eventually if you convince her a little more. And so you have that, and then that loop ends probably the same way as the first one. Maybe you make a few more changes, like in my second loop after I told her about it, and the guy still got in, because of course he breaks in. I was like, "Okay, my guy's tied up with a zip tie. There's a knife on the counter. If I grab that knife before he zip ties me, maybe I can get that out of my pocket and cut myself loose, and then maybe I can fight him." And I did cut myself loose with the knife, and then he clocked me again, so I was out. And then the loop started over. And it's the kind of game where sometimes you'll just be not playing it, and you'll think about, okay, what if I tried this? Because it's all intuitive. So yesterday, when I was driving around on my hell trip, I was like, okay, what if I took the cell phone that's in the closet in my wife's purse, and I took it, and there's already text messages from me on there, so I can call myself, but what if I call the police, for example? And so I call the police, and of course, they're backed up. They say it's going to be such and such amount of time before they show up. And so I tried different things. I tried calling them early. I tried calling them when the guy was there. Lots of different approaches. And every single time, you'll think of something new and different, and the game will react differently to it. And so you're playing this loop over and over, but every time you have this different objective in your mind. In your mind. The game doesn't tell you. So from what I understand, the way the game works is eventually you'll just kind of figure it out, and you'll have the optimal run, and that will get you towards the finish line. Right now, I kind of am a little bit puzzled what to do, which is why I've kind of stopped, and I'm trying to just kind of think on it. I did get one hint from the internet. I've tried to stay away because a lot of the fun is you just puzzling through it yourself. But I really do think it's a fascinating concept, with the only thing so far that I don't necessarily love, because you play the same loop over and over. Sometimes you're going to go through a loop and you'll do something very similar as the loop before, but with a slight change. But you'll have to go through the motions again. It kind of reminds me of Majora's Mask, where sometimes you would just kind of know what you need to do, and so you just have to hang out at this one spot for a long time. And so maybe you just pull out your phone and tool around for a little bit while you keep an eye on the clock. And so sometimes in this game, I'll get to a position and I'll just be like, okay, I'm gonna like hang out here because I've already, I don't want to say too much because I don't want to spoil anything, but I'll just be like, I'm just gonna hang out in this closet and wait till the guy comes because I need to do something when he's there, but I don't have anything else to do in the meantime, so I'm gonna look at my phone. So I think it's just a really interesting game. I think it's very short, depending on how smart you are, I guess. And I have really been thinking about it constantly since I started it the other night, so I'm looking forward to finishing it up in the next few runs, I think.
That seems like a very unique experience.
Yeah, it is a really cool idea. Best played on a PC. It's a point-and-click adventure game. The console controls are not wonderful, as you would expect. So I am glad this is a Game Pass thing that I can just easily go to my PC and uninstall from my Xbox.
I think it is kind of a waste of money to for Microsoft to back up the money truck and then you're hiring these famous voice actors that don't really contribute anything to the game.
People, yeah, it also doesn't help that there are a lot of people that hate this game.
Yeah, that's what I've seen.
Really hate it. It is divisive. There are people like Hideo Kojima loves it. Hideo has gone on Twitter and said that he loves it and it makes him want to make another point-and-click adventure game.
That Hideo. Well, then if he likes it, then in 5 years everyone's gonna like it.
Right. So he likes it, but if you go on the rest of the internet, there are just people who are like, this game fucking sucks. You have to wait around. You have to redo all these loops. It doesn't tell you anything. The story itself isn't super satisfying, which I don't really care about. To me, the mystery is not that what I care about. It's the puzzle solving that goes with it. But I mean, if you go online, you will just be prepared to see people to just think this is like the stupidest, worst game they've ever played.
Well, so you're Mr. Counterculture this week. You hate the game everyone loves, and you love the game everyone hates.
I do not trust anyone who hates this game. That said, this is also Daisy Ridley, James McAvoy, these B-list Hollywood celebrities. This is a weird use of money because their characters are not that interesting. They don't do an awesome job voice acting. I wouldn't have known it was Daisy Ridley. I mean, she's not that recognizable, and I definitely wouldn't have known if I didn't know in advance.
I would honestly say that a good celebrity voice actor is the exception to the rule.
Yes, and Willem Dafoe is fine, but I mean, he's Willem Dafoe. I was going to like him no matter what. I'm fine with him being in video games forever, but McAvoy, Daisy Ridley, I don't know. Seems like a weird choice, honestly.
Well, you'll have to let us know if it sticks to landing.
I've heard it doesn't, but again, I really don't care. As long as the puzzle solving continues to be satisfying. Every time I discover something new, I get really excited. So, I mean, the game has already won me over in that sense. It would have to really, really, really do something insulting at the end. On a side note, I think people hate this because one of the puzzles involves you, drugging your wife, and you do it a lot. It is it is one of the primary ways to advance the story is to put sleeping pills in your wife's coffee mug and basically roofie her so that she falls asleep before the guy shows up.
That's why you like it so much.
It's like the episode of Seinfeld where Jerry gives the girl sleeping pills.
That's the first thing I thought of.
Except for I give her sleeping pills so I can go into different parts of the apartment and find things that she's hidden. It is just really. I bet that is part of it. I bet that is part of why people don't like it because they probably find that to be a problematic puzzle. To which I say, man, if you think that's problematic, wait till you sit in the closet while the guy shoots your wife.
Boy, if you think that's bad.
It is so dark. It is so dark. I love this game.
All right, well that'll do it for the Cheston segment.
I tried to go quick. I'm sorry. I know Ascent in 12 minutes weren't quick. So
no, that's okay.
I have a lot to say.
I tease. So, Setzer, what have you been up to?
Well, I played and beat Bioshock Remastered on my personal computer. And we talked about this a little bit Friday because I could not contain my frustration with this game. I see this game compared to Dishonored a lot.
Really?
Which surprises me because, well, they're both, immersive sims, allegedly.
Yeah, I mean,
and
kind of.
Yeah. Yeah, well, we'll get to that. But it surprises me because not only did Dishonored come out 5 years after Bioshock, Dishonored is better in every single way.
Yeah, I think so
Um,
too.
yeah.
I would believe it, yeah.
I am so like that's what I came in with was I knew that there were 3 things people really liked about this game and that they thought that it was in a sort of rivalry with Dishonored, right? Well, that rivalry did not pan out. Dishonored kicks Bioshock's ass, and the things that I gleaned people liked were the setting, the city of Rapture, the underwater city, which I think is also very cool in concept, but very underutilized in the actual game. People liked the twist, which did not impact me at all.
Was this something you knew ahead of time, by the way?
I vaguely knew that there was a twist related to your character.
Okay. 'Cause I feel like this is such like a major twist that people probably mostly know it by now.
But I'm just the kind of guy that doesn't really go in for a twist in the first place.
Right.
I think if the twist is the most memorable part, then there's nothing really there. You know what I mean? Like
It's kinda,
your character, your guy in this game is such a non-character.
It really is.
The other characters you meet, you can't really interact with them in any way, and you don't really see them. Like you briefly see Tannenbaum, Ryan, and oh my God, what's his name? Fontaine. You briefly see them toward the end of the game, and you briefly meet one of the scientists, Julie, for 30 whole seconds, right? You don't really get to interact with these characters a whole lot. They just kind of talk at you. And so when there's something unexpected with these characters, well, it sure is a thing. That's kind of my perspective on it. It's like, yeah, that's the twist. If I were more invested in the characters and more invested in what that twist really means, I would have been more interested in the story in general, and thus, a little more impressed with the twist, but I wasn't.
Right.
And people often talk about how awesome the gameplay of Bioshock is. And,
do they?
Oh yeah.
Okay,
I mean, that was my impression of it.
That was
I've
actually
never
like my
personally
least
cared
favorite
that
part.
much. Yeah.
Yeah, and it was my least favorite part too. And maybe because I'm playing this game like 14 years late. That's why I'm not so impressed.
Well, even at the
But,
time, for me, I didn't think it was like as fun as people were making it out to be.
Yeah, I mean, it's very simplistic and it's very basic. 75% of the game is incredibly easy. I was playing on medium with the adaptive difficulty, and I found the first 75% of this game to be like a total cakewalk, a total joke. And then it just like the back quarter of this game is a complete inversion, and it becomes like ball-bustingly difficult. And I was just shocked at this, the number of armored enemies you encounter towards the end and the limited tools you have to avoid them. Unlike a game like Dishonored, where the assumption is that you're going to be sneaking, and the game designers have kind of built the game around that assumption. They've given you tools and skills, not like skills you select in an RPG menu, but skills like as you holding the controller, right?
Right.
They give you those tools and skills to avoid enemies, and the levels are designed in such a way that you can intuitively, navigate them in a sneaky way. I was just really not happy throughout the last 25-ish% of this game. I was very frustrated, and it just like hit me like a brick wall. Overall I came away with a negative impression of this game.
Yeah, it didn't know when to get out.
Yes, yeah. like the level with the trees, the farmer's market, all that stuff, that should have been trimmed out and should have just got on with it. Because the last few levels are the ones that have the actual meat of the story and the twist, but they have like the most frustrating, boring, bullshit gameplay.
Yeah, I've always kind of felt like people love the plot twist so much that they turn their brain off to the rest of the game.
I mean, I can confirm. I mean, that basically how I was when I played it long, long time ago for review. The twist, like, at the time, especially in games, was just so novel. And then, like, the last 2 or 3 hours, it was just like, whatever.
And for those that don't know what the twist is, I'll just say it since it's kind of like almost public domain, like kind of everyone kind of knows it at this point. It's
Spoiler
like,
warning.
spoiler warning if you haven't played Bioshock.
Yeah, so the premise of the game is you're just a regular guy who was on a plane that crashed in the Atlantic Ocean, and you take a bathysphere down to the hidden underwater city of Rapture, which is, going up in smoke under the leadership of Andrew Ryan. And Danny O'Dwyer comes to your aid, and he's telling you what's what
Great.
down here.
It's my favorite episode of No Clip.
After a while, he's leading you by the nose to kill, the city's proprietor, Andrew Ryan. And once you do so, he reveals, oh, I've just been mind controlling you this whole time, because I orchestrated your birth, and I had you genetically modified to do whatever I say when I say this word, or this phrase. You get rescued by a scientist who removes that brainwashing, and then you have to go kill Nick Fontaine.
What a name.
And he turns into a giant gorilla man. You shoot him, and then you give him the old syringe suck 4 times. And that's the end. I rescued all the little sisters, so I got the good end. That last level in particular, or last couple levels where you're like turning into the Big Daddy, I thought that was a wasted opportunity.
Yeah.
Because
really
the
bogged
only thing that
things
amounts to is a really annoying noise when you walk, a
Mhm.
really annoying like porthole effect on your view, and 25% damage reduction. You don't even get the drill.
They fixed that in 2.
Yeah?
Yeah, you get the drill.
Wow.
So I haven't played 2, but I will say Infinite has the same issues where it's easy for a lot of it, and then it becomes frustrating at the end.
It just becomes too much. They just don't know when to stop throwing things at you.
And the enemies become complete bullet sponges, and it's just not fun.
I appreciate games where resource management and scarcity is a big part of the game, but when you're playing it and there's vending machines and cash all over the place, right? So there's no scarcity whatsoever for the first 75% of the game, and then all of a sudden every single enemy requires clip after clip after clip. Rocket, rocket, rocket. So many like mana potions to kill. It's like, it's a headache,
Yeah, it sounds like you kind of took yourself out of playing the other games.
No, I have Bioshock 2 installed.
Well, we'll
I'm
see
gonna
how you
play it.
feel. I think
Yeah.
Cheston is a fan of that, aren't you?
I am indeed a fan of Bioshock 2. That said, I don't remember much about it, other than when I played it, thinking, oh, this just plays a lot better than the first Bioshock. I don't remember anything about the story. I do remember really liking the different avenues of Rapture that they allow you to go down. So,
Mhm.
I think it fixed the biggest problem with the first game, which is the gameplay kind of sucked. And it doubled down on the best thing, which is the environment. So,
Mhm.
I'll be curious. I've actually, that's the one that I never really want to play the first Bioshock again. Anytime I think about them, I always think I should play 2 again, so I can like see if I was just being really forgiving or if it actually is secretly the best of the 3.
Yeah, I'll let you know.
Yeah. But that's a bummer that the first one poops out so hard.
Yeah, like I was having an okay time, but I was kind of hoping it was more difficult. And then it's like, the monkey paw curled on me and just granted me this game that is like so ball-bustingly difficult because it's one thing for it to be like a hard enemy every now and then in a Dark Souls kind of way, but when it's like, okay, walk all the way back to the vending machine and all the way back to the what you're trying to do.
Ugh.
Also, I'd be remiss if I didn't mention this. At one point, my save got soft locked, and I had to look up a guide toward the end in the Apollo Square level. I think you have to go into Tannenbaum's apartment to get the code for the elevator to the penthouse, where Nick Fontaine keeps the antidote. You have to climb this long staircase to get into Tannenbaum's apartment. But if you die in Tannenbaum's apartment, the respawn point is at the bottom of the staircase. So when you go back up, it's revealed that the staircase has been blown up, so you can't get back into the apartment, so you can't get the code to the elevator. So you're just screwed. So I had to look up IGN's guide from 2007 to find the code to the elevator.
That sucks. That's bad.
Yeah.
You'd figure in the remaster they might have fixed that.
No. The remaster, I was pretty unimpressed because, I realize there's only so much you can do, but it still kind of looks like ass. And it's very unstable. Like, I had a lot of CTDs in this game. And I lost a lot of progress on those two.
I remember hearing the PC remaster was basically just like the original version, but up-resed, pretty much.
Yeah, that wouldn't surprise me.
I think more work was probably done to the console ports, if I had to guess.
Do remember that this remaster runs on Switch.
Oh yeah, it does.
Yeah. So I think it runs fine.
So for me, I finished Neo: The World Ends With You. So for those wondering, it is not a Kingdom Hearts game.
Oh
And
man.
I knew as soon as they started swearing at some point. Like they dropped like the shit bomb, they said the F word. I was like, wait a minute. I don't think Disney would sign off on this for their precious character Sora. So that's probably not a Kingdom Hearts game. So but it was pretty darn good. It connected a lot to the original toward the end. So if you were to go play it for this one, I would recommend reading a plot synopsis for the first one before you do so. But overall, I think it was a pretty darn good experience, and I would recommend it to pretty much anyone. So I was looking at the calendar for stuff that's coming out, and I noticed that No More Heroes 3 comes out next week. And I was a big fan of that franchise back in the day on the Wii. So I've owned the remasters for quite a while on the Switch, and I just never played them because I was kind of scared, like, what if I don't like this anymore? Because I loved it back in the day. So with the new one coming out, I was like, you know what? I'm going to play 1 and 2 to kind of get back in the pace of it. So I finished 1, and I'm starting 2. So let me talk about 1. This game rules. It absolutely holds up. It's every bit as good as I remember it. So that's fantastic. Certainly a game of its era, though. It has a totally useless and empty open world. There's no reason for you to be motorcycling around. It's just go from like one shop to the next. So that sucked.
Mow some lawns.
Yes. Well, yes, that was a side quest. So the side quests are you do random jobs or you kill people. And at some point it's like, I don't want to do these random jobs anymore, so I'll just kill people. But you have to do those jobs to unlock the killing quest, so that's what you do.
Very Wii game thing to do.
The story and dialogue is really weird. It's like it's hard to describe it. It's like a Japanese sort of weird, where they break the fourth wall, but it doesn't come across as like, I don't know, like when Borderlands or my favorite game of all time, Sunset Overdrive, do something like this. It's like very groan-inducing.
Oh,
But
God.
this doesn't feel like they're, or like how they, when the MCU or something is corny, they like constantly like wink at the camera like, oh, aren't we being silly? We know this is ridiculous.
Don't take it seriously.
Yeah, I never got that impression from this, even though they do things where they wink at the camera. Like it doesn't feel cheesy. I don't know. The character is like an asshole, but they don't try to redeem it at all. Like he's just like a weird otaku that his main purpose for wanting to climb the ranks of the assassins is he wants to get laid, and it never really changes. In fact, the motivating factor for the sequel is he wants to get laid again, pretty much. Um,
Yeah, that's great.
so,
That's good.
and they even have like a moment at the end of the game where this the quote unquote final boss. It's not really, but the game pretends it is like, yeah. So I'm gonna plot dump on you, and then the main character is like, oh, I don't really have a lot of time. Can we do this quickly? And so the game fast forwards like the plot details, and the main character Travis is like acting surprised at all the twists, but you don't have any idea what's going on. And when it's over, he's like, "Huh, you're my sister, eh?" and then you kill her brutally, and then it's over. And
Wow.
then yeah, and then the final, and then my other complaint, other than the open world, which at the end of the game they're like, all right, so you want to see the normal ending or the true ending, or go back to the open world. So I'm like, well, I want to see both endings, so I guess I want to see the normal ending first. And so the normal ending is like 5 seconds long, and then it kicks you back to the title screen. And then when you try to load the old save, that makes you start a new game plus. You can't see the true ending. I was like, God damn it! I'm not beating this game again. So I look it up on YouTube. The true ending, like it involves another boss battle, which I remember from back when I played it originally. So it's the only hard boss in the game. So that kind of
So you
sucked.
missed out on a boss battle
Yes, I
because you.
did.
Wow. Man,
Um,
crazy.
it sucked.
It's stupid.
Yeah, I didn't like it. But
Yeah.
the final boss is like your twin brother, and I don't know, like his wife is like the girl like Travis is trying to get laid by the whole game. So it's just a weird sort of thing. I mean, I can't recommend it enough. It holds up. It's just a strange Japanese game,
I thought it was cool as hell when it came out,
and it still is.
especially because the only ever good use of a speaker in a game controller.
Yeah, unfortunately, Switch does not have that, so
I
you don't get that.
Well, there is a speaker in those
But-
controllers.
well, yeah, but I'm playing on with the. I'm mostly
I
playing
know,
with the
I
Pro
know.
controller.
But I
so.
had a friend who played this and he told me they took that out too, and I was like, oh, damn it, that's so cool.
The boss battles are like the highlight of the game. They're not hard, but they're a lot of fun. Like they have you like thinking on your toes. Like despite being a pretty simple system, because there's like two ways you swing a sword, and you also have a guard button. It's a lot of fun. Like they do bosses really well. So I started two, and the big thing about that is that they completely take out the open world. You do your side quests, your jobs and stuff via a menu. Uh, it's a lot better. You don't feel like you're wasting so much time. And in the sequel, the side quests are like done in 8-bit style, like you're doing like I don't know, like NES games or like old arcade games. It was cool back in the day doing the 8-bit stuff, but in 2021 when that style is used so frequently, it's not as special. But it's still cool. The one takeaway I've had so far is that the boss fights are way less interesting in 2. They're just almost mashy, which is kind of a shame. But I'm not very far, so we'll see.
I don't remember you liking 2 nearly as much. I never played it, but I remember you were like one of 5 people who bought it,
Yes.
and you never seemed that enthused.
Well, it's coming back to me why I felt that way, and it just feels like it's more content but less memorable content. Because like when I was replaying 1, I haven't played this game since it came out. I don't think No More Heroes 1, and there were bosses and segments I remembered just from like over a decade ago. Like it left an imprint on me, and I think I've beaten like 4 or 5 bosses in 2 so far, and I'm like I don't remember any of these people, and they're just like generic encounters. So why would I remember them? So it's a lesser experience, but it seems more polished. Like it looks way better graphically than the first one does, and the lack of an open world is appreciated.
Part of the first one's appeal was that it was on the Wii, and it was such a just dramatic departure from everything else on the Wii. You know, when you cut someone's head off with the motion controls and blood would shoot out of their necks like Kill Bill. It was just like, whoa. So the sequel probably had some diminishing returns there too.
Yeah, it's true, but boy, I forgot how like over the top gruesome this game is. It's kind of cool,
It's
actually.
pretty great. It's
Yeah,
pretty great.
it does feel like Kill Bill. In fact, like I feel like Travis speaks in the same cadence as Beatrix from Kill
I
Bill.
bet that there is a healthy amount of crossover there with inside Suda's mind.
Oh, probably. I'm excited for 3. I'm very curious to see if it's still good. There's a lot in this game that I think that if No More Heroes 1 or 2 had been made today, it would be chased off the internet. It's very, very sexual and very just like perverted in some ways, but it doesn't ever try to glorify the main character. He's just the way he is. So I'm kind of curious to see if 3 will be the same since things have changed. And I'm pretty sure No More Heroes was a flop in Japan and was like successful here, but I don't know. I guess we'll see next week. But that's pretty much what I've been up to.
Did you finish Disgaea?
Oh, I finished the story mode of that a while ago. I'm playing the real
Oh.
game now, which is the post game.
The grinding to 9,999.
Yeah, I am. I think my main character is level 16,000 right now. But this is after I reincarnated and started over because I was 14,000. It's like I'm not strong. My power's not high enough, so I want to start over. So
I regret asking. There's just so much.
I'm not ready to talk about why I think that game is lazy just yet, but I will get there eventually. But yes, I'm still playing Disgaea. That's what we guess we've been playing, so let's get on to the news.
Let's kick this week off with another visit to the Xbox Family Circus. After a
Welcome back.
resoundingly successful technical preview, Halo Infinite is back in the news after developer 343 Industries announced the game will not feature campaign co-op or forge modes at launch. Given my own experiences with the technical issues of the technical preview, this does not surprise me one bit, but it does still disappoint.
Well, that's that's kind of concerning, I would say. Like, what are they gonna strip the single player next? Just like launch with just the multiplayer? That's kind of weird.
If I had a genie and I had 3 wishes, one of the wishes would be to go back in time and see what the world looks like when Halo Infinite comes out in 2020. Because that game must have been a disaster.
Yeah.
No kidding.
Yeah. I don't know, there's some alleged scuttlebutt posts going around saying, like, oh, they just don't even know how to make multiplayer work, like co-op campaign work in an open world. Like, they just can't figure out how to make it work mechanically.
Oh.
And,
That seems like a problem.
yeah.
There's 2
and-
of them. You just have 2 guys.
Well, that does raise questions about, like, if you've got this whole open world, what happens when those 2 players go in opposite directions? How far can they go?
Oh yeah, that's a good point.
If one of them dies, where does he respawn? Under what circumstances?
Couldn't they
You know?
do it like I don't know, like a shitty 2-player game where like you're tied to each other, where you can only go so far away?
Yeah, but that might be a cop-out answer. That might not be fun in playtesting.
May not. You're right. Fair enough.
I never considered that, but yeah, that seems like that could be a problem.
Yeah, I wonder if Halo was a good choice for open worlds.
Yeah,
Everything's a good choice for open world. Duh.
Yeah, haven't you been paying attention the past 10 years?
No, duh, of course.
Um,
How could I forget?
But it does, reinforce the fact that no one has seen campaign gameplay. Nobody knows how this single player is structured, and we're how many months from launch, right?
Not many.
Yeah, and no one knows what this game actually is. I think if open world Halo were really as inspired and as inspiring as that first level from Halo CE, which is kind of the whole genesis of this idea, right?
Yeah.
If it was that good, you'd think they'd be like shouting from the rooftops, like, "Oh my God, Halo Infinite's gonna be awesome. Here's 30 minutes of gameplay footage of Master Chief toiling on this ring, and he's unlocking radio towers or whatever. He's doing all the Ubisoft things." And the fact that they aren't doing that and they're being incredibly tight-lipped.
That's very suspicious.
Yes.
Do you think we'll see it at Gamescom next week? Because Microsoft has a big show. Not the big show.
I think we will see multiplayer. And we will continue to not see
again.
gameplay.
That's always okay.
Yeah.
All right. Well, then I am out until I see single player.
We're getting so close. They gotta show us everyone that campaign here soon.
They need to, because I mean, my Game Pass download hinges on it.
Well, even though like I don't really care about it, I know a lot of people like Halo's story. Like they read the novels and get into the lore. So I hope that happens for them.
Yeah, I mean, there was a time when I was a young boy, and I was caught up on the Halo novels. That time is long past.
You were all about 343 Guilty Spark. What kind of robot he was.
But I'll say that, just based on what I played in 4 and what I've read of 5, this franchise has gone completely off the rails. It's kind of like the Star Wars sequels, Last Jedi among them, right? Where it's kind of like this universe has had its story, and it's really difficult to like justify dragging these characters out again and pretending that there's an even bigger, badder threat and all this stuff. It's very much like that. And,
we have to be careful. We can't keep mentioning The Last Jedi.
Well, I kind of felt like Halo 3 was the perfect end for things,
Mm-hmm.
Finish the fight.
But I remember like playing Halo 3, and I remember thinking like, oh, there'll never be another Halo. There doesn't need to be.
Yeah.
And there's been a few, so.
Well, too much money is at stake.
I suppose
or
so.
was, given how diminished the franchise is now.
Well, people are not interested in taking risks anymore. It's all about pumping that IP up. So, this looks like a mess, but we'll see.
Yeah, we will see. Intel announced the branding for its upcoming line of consumer graphics products. Intel Arc is designed to compete with Nvidia and AMD's graphics offerings, but only time will tell if it lives up to the hype and cringe of this week's new trailer. Personally, I am extremely skeptical of buying Intel hardware given their propensity for the on-disk DLC strategy with their CPUs. Do you guys remember that?
No, I don't.
Yeah, they were like, okay, here's your CPU for, $300, right? If you want to unlock its full power, you have to buy this little code for $200 more. It comes on like a little gift card, and you type in the code in your drivers.
That's scummy.
Yeah.
Then yeah, I wouldn't trust them either.
Yeah.
And honestly, like I don't see the need for a new competitor in the GPU market.
Well, I definitely do. I think AMD is kind of a sick horse at this point.
Oh, okay.
As far as their graphics offerings go.
I didn't know that because I feel like AMD works with console people more than Nvidia. So I don't know. I guess you would know more about that than me.
Yeah, I mean, I would say in terms of like actually innovative technology, Nvidia is way ahead of AMD, just with their RTX cards. Radeon doesn't really have anything approaching that level of capability. And new features like DLSS and stuff coming out of Nvidia, a lot of AI work, and AMD doesn't seem to have anything like that on the horizon. So
okay, so there is room, but it's not like you just don't want Intel being the other people in.
yeah, I mean, I don't trust Intel. I think that not only do they have some scummy business practices, I think that they generally come off as unaware of the world around them, and then they come in with a big project and a big master plan about how they're going to dominate every industry, and 2 years later they just give up. So, like their shitty smart glasses they were obsessed with for a couple years.
Oh yeah,
That
like
never
Google.
panned out.
Yeah. I hear that the smart glasses failed because people kept getting like beat up. But
It wouldn't surprise me.
like, oh, are you filming me? And then,
I don't know. Those things like also had the world's worst screen.
Yeah, yeah.
It's so tiny.
When Google Glass was new, I worked with a guy who bought one, and he let me try it. And I was like completely baffled.
Oh, yeah.
I wear glasses, and that's enough of a pain. So the idea of like having this little computer hanging off of my glasses and like beaming bullshit into my eyeball all the time was
Yeah.
was just not.
It's like the
appealing
world's
to me at all.
crappiest display,
Yeah.
mere inches in front of your face, and you had to control it very awkwardly. Like it was very much like something that a rich person would buy for the novelty, but any normal person would just scoff at as absurd.
you can have your very own HUD, which sounds terrible. But I mean, I think when I first heard of it, I always thought of it like you could use like a scouter from Dragon Ball, get like an app on there, just like scan random
Yeah,
people's
if
power
only.
levels. So, so that's
Maybe
unfortunately
in
that
another
never.
30 years.
Yeah, well, that'd be pretty sweet. Just go around like, I wonder how strong this guy is. One day.
Google's corporate maneuvering was also put on public display this week. Protocol's Nick Stat writes about the latest chapter in the App Spat, in which we learned Google's apparent desperation to prevent Epic from raising a fuss about its cut of Play Store app sales. Proposals
Behind them.
included a hostile takeover of Epic, partnering with Chinese company Tencent to purchase 100% stake in Epic, quote, working as if we are one company with Apple to undermine Epic, launching Project Hug to bribe app developers into staying on the Play Store instead of creating their own stores like Epic. After all of this, what does Google have to say for itself? Quote, as we have stated previously, Epic's lawsuit is baseless and mischaracterizes our business conversations. Android provides more choices in mobile devices for developers and consumers. End quote.
It's not addressing the whole hostile takeover thing, but
Yeah. Like when you're caught conspiring with your competitor to monopolize certain business practices.
that's opening yourself up for more problems.
Yeah. I don't think it's a mischaracterization or baseless.
Well, this is why people don't trust big tech. They say one thing and then they like, oh, let's we have someone that's stepping out of line. Let's buy them out right away, stamp out competition. How dare Epic not want to profit share?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. I mean, I'm praying for antitrust at this point.
Oh, same. Absolutely, they deserve it too.
Yes, and while we're on the topic of hating every single player involved in this story, can we talk about how much Epic sucks with the recent Fortnite stuff?
Oh,
Very
with
recent
You know what I'm
Fortnite
with-
talking about?
with imposters.
Yeah, so they basically, you know how Fortnite is basically just a copy of PUBG, which was a copy of, whatever, I don't know, right?
Yeah. It's
Okay.
I think it was a Daisy or something.
Yeah, whatever it was. Yeah, it was it was a copy of, but it was so blatant. Like if you played as I did PUBG and then you played Fortnite, it was like okay. I mean, you copied the idea, but did you have to copy everything? And then this week they took Among Us, and from what everybody has said, it is like literally to the T that game, just with the gaudy, hideous, just disgusting Fortnite art style. It is so trashy. I hate Fortnite.
Well, it's so
I hate it
blatant
so
too
much.
because it's just like they don't even try to hide it. It looks the exact same. It's
And I've seen people say like, well, that's what happens in gaming, and to an extent that's true. Sure, games iterate on each other and they take ideas, but I mean, this is like a multi-billion dollar company punching down for a 4-person studio and saying, hey, we like your idea, we're going to take it and put it in our game that's way more popular.
and even still, like from what I understand, it's basically the same outside of art style. Like if you look at like the fighting game boom of the '90s when everyone was copying Street Fighter, like the biggest one, Mortal Kombat, there were big differences between the two. There was a
Yes.
reason to play Mortal Kombat instead of Street Fighter. You wanted that blood and violence. From what I gather, there isn't much of a difference here.
The difference is that one of them is a part of a giant portal that has pretty much every person you've ever known in your life. And one of them is a phone game that you'll probably only play when you're actually with your friends in person. So, I just wanted to say I also hate Epic. So, Google and Tencent can go screw themselves, and Epic can go right with them.
And Apple too.
Yes,
If tomorrow,
Apple-
yes, and if tomorrow I woke up and all of those companies were gone, I would be very happy.
But I am with Setzer. I am hoping for antitrust. They deserve to get
Oh.
slapped for this.
Yes, absolutely. Yes.
This is
Yeah,
like
Google and
blatant.
Apple need antitrust.
You'd have to be the
immediately.
biggest shill in the world, and believe me, I know some of them. to
Oh, I
not
see them all the
be
time.
begging for it.
Anyone that like thinks big tech is honest, out for the consumer is
Well,
fooling
you know, they do all
themselves.
those, Apple always does its big privacy campaigns to be like, look, we care about your data because we want it.
The important thing is there that Google and Apple both deserve a slapping, and hopefully it'll come.
Hopefully.
Don't do evil, right, guys? LOL.
They had to change that.
Yeah,
I know.
They did change
I know.
that.
Well, it was
So
cringy when it was in
ridiculous.
there, but it's even funnier when they took it out.
Well, speaking of missteps with regards to storefronts, James Batchelor of GamesIndustry.biz writes about EA's recent peaky promise to, quote, consider player perspective, after it inexplicably removed some classic titles from the good old games store in June. After relisting the titles and giving them away for free for a limited time, EA Executive Vice President for Marketing, Commercial, and Positive Play, Chris Bruzzo, wrote that the incident was due to a breakdown in internal process, which has now been resolved. I was like, when I saw that they took down like Ultimate Underworld, and these like ancient classic games, I was like shocked at the micromanagement. You know what I mean? Like the neurotic micromanagement that it takes for someone somewhere to decide, yes, I do believe June 6th, 2021 will be the day that we remove these for sale.
Yeah, it's strange when they say they're going to, I don't know, put more thought into like how players feel. I'm like, well, that would involve you putting some thought at all.
I think they knew. I like it when these companies like do something really small and then act really surprised when there's a vocal fan base that's like, hey, this sucks.
Like, do you guys
Oh, whoops.
do you guys not remember the big drama when the PS3 store was going to go down? It's the same sort of thing.
They're probably like, oh, who even cares about Ultima Underworld and Syndicate anymore?
Well, what gets me is it's not about, how many people care. It's the fact that just leaving these on GOG is no skin off EA's back whatsoever.
No, not at all.
Like, they don't host the files, they're not paying for bandwidth through servers. These games don't have multiplayer that EA needs to maintain. It's literally just, free money. I'm sure it's like $3 a quarter, based on how many people are buying these games. But it's like, why not leave it up? Like, what do they gain by taking down, these specific games, right?
Maybe they wanted them exclusively on Origin.
Oh yeah, maybe.
Maybe Pele really hates Syndicate.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't. You have to like turn off your brain a little bit when thinking of Suits because they probably like saw it sold like, I don't know, $5 worth on
Yeah.
on GOG, and we're like, well, damn, that could have been $5 we had on Origin.
Some small guy in a suit somewhere had to justify his job, so he's like, oh my gosh, look at the money we're losing on Ultima Underworld, on good old games. We should really do something about that, huh? Huh?
We gotta reel that in.
Yeah. Oh, please don't fire me.
But that's the kind of incompetence we expect out of EA, quite frankly.
It is. Hey, you know who's even more incompetent?
Ooh.
Square Enix.
Oh.
That one was a freebie. And go.
Dun-dun. Well, Square Enix does seem to be having a, quote, internal breakdown of its own. As IGN's Joe Scribbles writes that the publisher has failed to inform developer People Can Fly why it did not transfer royalties from its recent looter shooter Outriders. People Can Fly speculates this is because the game was not profitable due to being released on the Game Pass, but no one knows for sure as Square Enix remains mum on sales figures. For whatever reason.
From what I understood, the game did far better than anybody expected it to.
Yeah, that was my impression too, so to hear it, say that it's not profitable was shocking to me.
This is the same company that was like Tomb Raider only sold 5 million copies. That's not enough.
Right?
So
They don't understand. Like, they must have like Final Fantasy VII expectations for every single game they sell, or something.
yeah, so they're gonna be pissed off when The World Ends with You sales figures come back.
God, can you
to
imagine
work.
when they saw Balan Wonderworld?
They're gonna kill
I
Nomura in
guarantee you
public.
at least one Japanese executive shit his pants in public looking at the Ballin sales figures.
Can you imagine when they
Just
played the demo?
immediately.
You think Yuji Naka had to cut off like a pinky? Like,
Yes.
He's not got many left.
no, I know, poor guy. Failure after failure.
That was his last pinky toe.
That was. It's over now.
He has no sense of balance. Nothing will stop him from making a Knights reboot.
Well, that's why he
Nothing.
spelled Balin wrong. He was trying to spell balance, but he doesn't have any.
Oh.
But
Oof.
Yeah, Square
Ooh-wee.
seems like... I heard on a podcast somewhere someone say that, I know, fascinating, someone somewhere said Square and Sega are like two sides of the same coin, because they're both really stupid, but Sega's like really charming about it, and Square is just like, I don't know, like so disorganized that you just can't help but shake your head at them and go, God, you freaking
yeah,
idiots.
Sega's kind of like a lovable idiot.
Yeah,
That's a
Sega's
good point.
And Square is like a raving homeless schizo.
Yeah, you know, I never thought of it like that, but you're totally right. Like, Sega is full of morons, but I love them. So
But they're fun. They're fun
Yeah.
morons. And every once in a while they do something really fun, like, you know, Sonic Mania. They accidentally let someone talented make a Sonic game. Or Yakuza, they accidentally made this very niche Japanese series big.
that's true, and it was not on purpose. That's for darn sure.
And they have all
so.
those PC, like, RTS games that are super popular. And you know nobody at Sega Japan understands those games at all. They probably don't even know they make them.
Yeah.
What's this
Meanwhile-
thing? What's this number on our chart that says Total War? Oh, just don't worry about that. That's
It's some
that's
British
like,
thing.
That's reparations for World War II. We're good.
Oh, okay.
Meanwhile, Square Enix dropped those Final Fantasy ROM remasters. on
Dude, they're
PC.
$17.
Yeah.
What the hell? Like Final Fantasy 1. Final Fantasy 1 is $12, but Final Fantasy 3 is $18.
I feel like we all kind of reached an agreeable price point for these classic games. It's like,
$5.
well, $9.99 at
10.
most.
I would do 10.
Yeah.
I would download the ROM.
Hey,
Well,
but best,
same, but
best
same.
value. Best value. If you buy all 6 of these remasters, it's $74.82.
Okay, for all 6, I have a unique price point. It's $39.99. That would have been something that people might have latched onto.
It costs less to
Or-
get every single damn Kingdom Hearts game. Probably by like a good $40 at this point.
Hear me
Yeah.
out on this.
Yeah,
Master Chief Collection, Final Fantasy Collection.
I mean that's what it
play-
should have been.
Yeah, play all your Final Fantasy favorites in one place. Every couple years, we'll release another one, and we'll catch up to like Final Fantasy 13, because that was about a decade ago now, right?
Right.
And then we'll call it quits for a little bit. And when 16 rolls around, we'll add 15 to the collection, right? Because that was about 5 years ago.
Yeah, it was. Yeah, by the time they got around to it, it would be 10. So
Yeah.
I mean, I've been jonesing to play Final Fantasy 6, but
get
I
a
don't know
ROM.
that I'm like $20 jonesing to play it. I think I'd rather just download the Super Nintendo.
Well, I don't know. Like, I feel like when you're putting these kind of games out, you have to make an enticing price point. And I think like if you said like Final Fantasy 1 through 6, $39.99. Yes, it's
Oh, absolutely.
it's expensive, but you would have got people to latch on. But for $72, you're crazy.
Yeah, that's a lot to ask.
Like,
It's really
if
too
for that
much.
price, I'm expecting 2D HD remakes of each game.
Yeah, I agree. This is crazy. Square is insane. I don't understand how they're still around.
It's crazy because I enjoy their games so much. They're just,
Well, but they're like Sega. They're just not as charming about it.
they're
Like when
not.
they make a good game, it's like, oh fuck you, I'll pay you money, I guess. But when Sega does, it's like when you're like, you have like a really naive coworker or something. You're like, oh look at you, you did something right. Look at you, aren't you cute?
It's been a rough month for Activision Blizzard too, as we all know. But the mega publisher has a surefire plan to turn things around. VGC's Tom Ivan writes, the company recently confirmed that all, read him, all of its developers are now relegated, at least to some degree, to the good old Call of Duty mines. While
Sweet.
this doesn't mean those studios aren't also working on other non-COD projects, it is estimated that there are now 2,000 people working on the Call of Duty franchise, with Activision actively recruiting even more.
Oh boy.
Boys, how long will it be till we're discussing the news that Blizzard is now a COD support studio?
Oh boy. Well, with the way WoW's going, it's gonna be a couple years, I imagine. That's depressing. Like you have Activision was like a really big publisher, and they have teams that work on you would think unique things, and they're all just Call of Duty.
Yeah, I hate
Really
Call of
love
Duty.
on an IP you really love, and then they're like, sorry, buddy, you're going to the COD mines.
You
or
need
you're
to
out of a
make
job."
some cosmetic DLC for the children out there. And my favorite thing about this is how the Activision logo is missing from like the Call of Duty box art now.
Oh yes, they had a statement on that. They're like, oh, it was like an artistic choice.
Yeah, that's what they said, and I laughed and laughed and laughed.
Yeah, I mean, no, yeah, it was artistic to get you out of hot water. And also, it's a World War II shooter again, so it's even less interesting than usual.
Yeah, the artistic decision is we don't want people associating our game with sex depravity.
Yes, but I already associate it with that.
Oh yeah, and I
It's
always
too
will.
late.
But I mean, they also need to not pretend like their average consumer doesn't give a shit about that. They'll just consume their Call of Duty.
And finally this week, let's examine the Icarus-like tale of Mega Man Universe. A decade after the project's cancellation, Protodude of Rockman Corner documents the ambitious, nebulous, and downright inscrutable saga of what would have been Mega Man's Mario Maker. Pour out another one for the Blue Bomber boys.
Boy, reading this, Inafune sounds like a moron. First, I'm glad this got canceled because they seemed intent on making a shitty art style based on like Western cartoons at the time. Like they should. The article you linked had like the character artwork for Mega Man, and it looks terrible. And
Yeah.
and they were like they ignored feedback that it was terrible because like, oh, that won't be who plays this game. The people at PAX like, well, actually that probably will be who plays this game. Yeah, you don't need to chase trends for everything, fellas. But I believe since Mega Man Universe was canceled, they have like a fan made Mega Man maker. So you can get your jollies that way. But this is like a great idea that I would love to see revisited by Capcom proper.
Yeah, maybe in 20 years when they release the next Mega Man game, it'll have a maker mode on it.
True. They don't like making those games very often.
No, I wonder how much of that is tied in with the terms of Inafune's departure and the
Yeah.
fact that he like turned around and immediately made a Mega Man ripoff.
Yeah, it's got to be scorched earth.
Yeah.
I thought it was fascinating that they were hell bent on like 2-player co-op at some point, which does not seem like it would be fun in a Mega Man sense. Or they were also like trying to make it like 30 frames per second to add more animation, which if you know anything about Mega Man, it's about speed, and 30 is just not gonna work. Just strange.
Can I make a confession?
Yeah.
This is like the one Mega Man thing that when it was canceled, I did not really care.
Yeah.
I thought it was like, I'm not a big fan of these Maker games, and really the only one I ever liked that much is Mario Maker.
Like the Little Big Planet.
Well, but to me that game had way more going on than, like, most of these Maker games are like, the making is clearly the centerpiece, and there's so little around the outside. Little Big Planet had a whole campaign and everything, but this one I was like, I just don't see the appeal of this at all. Like using other characters besides Mega Man, making my own Mega Man stages, like, eh.
Well, it's more about playing like infinite creations of people. You can play some like interesting levels.
Yeah, I also just don't think Mega Man itself is like good for that. Like the, I don't think it's a natural fit for the Maker.
I don't know if I agree with that.
Well, if you think about a Mega Man level, it's all hinged around this unique boss fight. Like
Yeah.
the whole thing is a push and pull between like, okay, I've got to make sure I have a certain amount of lives so that when I reach the boss, I have a certain amount of tries at him before I go down. And if you're making these stages, I mean, are you able to make your own bosses, or are you just using like, oh, it's I don't know, Snake Man at the end or whatever?
Well, my envision for it was like, they give you the bosses for Mega Man 1 through 6, and then like you can make dungeons based around their themes or whatever.
But then you lose the appeal because at some point you've gone through all the bosses.
Well, yeah, but you get to see different people's takes on them.
There's only so many takes on
And-
Snake Man.
Yeah,
Fair.
I mean, I don't think the structure of Mega Man level is that different from a Mario level. Like, obviously, every Mega Man level has a boss at the end, whereas Mario typically does not. But I don't think that that's so important to my enjoyment of a Mega Man level. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I guess.
Like, my
I can see it.
enjoyment, what I like about the old Mega Man is having the different powers and using those different tools in different ways throughout the level. And obviously, you gotta beat the bosses for those, but that can be worked around.
Yeah, like you can like, here's the powers you get for this level. Have fun or whatever.
Yeah.
So, I think it could have been interesting, but I also like this being canceled probably was no big loss. It sounded like a mess. It sounded like a big mess. I think the only thing anyone's liked out of Mega Man in recent memory is 11.
And that one's kind of divisive too.
Yes,
Like I like it, but
I like it
there's plenty of
too.
people who don't. And there's definitely reasons not to like it, but
To
yeah.
me, it's a middle of the pack Mega Man, but
I mean, yes, but hey,
it's a good franchise,
That's
so it's
alright.
not necessarily a bad thing. All right, well, that'll do it for us this week. You can reach us on Twitter at alltoday or on email alltodaypodcast@gmail.com. This is Derek.
Setzer?
and Cheston.
We'll see you next time. Goodbye.
Adios.